Imagine living in a place where the nearest grocery store is miles away and your only food options are convenience stores stocked with junk food, where it's easier to find a fast food burger than a fresh apple. Welcome to the reality of food deserts. In the simplest terms, a food desert is a geographic area where residents have limited access to affordable and nutritious food, particularly fresh fruits and vegetables. More concretely, though, there's some debate over the precise variables that define a food desert. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, for example, uses two primary criteria to classify a region as a food desert. The first is based on income. An area must have either a poverty rate of 20% or higher, or a median family income below 80% of the statewide or metro area median. Second, the area must be classified as having low access. In urban areas, this is defined as occurring when at least 500 people, or 33% of the population, reside more than 1 mile from the nearest supermarket or large grocery store. In rural areas, this distance is increased to 10 miles. By this definition, about 40 million people in the United States, about 13% of the U.S. population, live in food deserts. 6% of California's census tracts were classified as food deserts, including large portions of the Central Valley and Sierra Nevada, and in Humboldt County, outside of towns like Eureka, Arcata, and McKinleyville. We also see food deserts in poorer neighborhoods in places like South Central Los Angeles and Oakland and elsewhere. I'll leave a link to the USDA's Food Desert Interactive Atlas in the notes below so you can have a look for yourself. But while the USDA definition gives us a sense of the scale of the problem of food deserts, it's nevertheless been widely criticized on a variety of fronts. First, critics maintain that the USDA's income and geographic criteria, that is, its classification of food deserts based primarily on distance to supermarkets and income levels, oversimplifies the problem and neglects a variety of other factors that can contribute to food access. This includes factors like the quality and variety of food available in existing stores, the affordability and cultural appropriateness of food options, transportation options and costs, and the physical ability to access stores. Imagine, for example, that an expensive Whole Foods opened in South Central Los Angeles. While this would technically end the area's food desert classification, as it would mean there's now a grocery store within 1 mile, the fact that the vast majority of residents might not be able to afford to shop at the notoriously expensive store means it would not be a viable food option. Critics also maintain that the concept has an urban bias, that the concept might be more suited for urban areas where supermarkets are the primary source of food. But in many rural areas, other food sources, farmers markets, food stands, household gardens, or others, might be more relevant, making the concept less useful there. And even in urban areas, the concept has a hard time capturing the dynamic nature of food access, which might change quickly due, for example, to grocery stores opening or closing. As a result, the definition might rapidly become outdated and fail to reflect current realities in specific locations. This might also be thought of as a data limitation. Early conceptions of food deserts often failed to account for the importance of access to transportation in the model. Quality, low-cost public transportation might make longer distances more accessible, suggesting a 1-mile urban model might be unnecessarily restrictive. By contrast, areas with poor public transit and low levels of vehicle ownership might make even 1 mile too far to travel with a full load of groceries. Based on these critiques, the term food apartheid is sometimes used to focus more squarely on the ways in which food deserts are rooted in systemic inequalities. Unlike the more neutral term food desert, food apartheid highlights the deliberate and discriminatory practices that result in unequal food environments. It also emphasizes the historical factors like redlining, segregation, divestment from communities of color, and the like, which have had long-term effects on access to resources, including food, in those communities. In a food desert, corner convenience markets often become the primary source of food for local residents. But the creation of food deserts has multiple roots. Low-income communities often lack the purchasing power necessary to attract and sustain large grocery stores, which prioritize profitability and higher-income areas. Supermarket chains and other food retailers prioritize profits over serving the needs of low-income communities, choosing to locate stores in areas with higher income demographics and leaving underserved communities without access to fresh food. At the most extreme, supermarkets may actively engage in redlining, avoiding investment in low-income neighborhoods due to perceived higher risks and lower profit potentials. Redlining, a term which originated with a decades-long policy of lenders discriminating against racial minorities in home loans, led to communities being segregated along racial lines, concentrating poverty and disinvestment in certain neighborhoods. This legacy continues to affect food access today, as communities of color are disproportionately impacted by food deserts. Zoning laws and urban planning decisions can unintentionally contribute to food deserts by restricting the location where grocery stores can operate. This is often seen in lower income and minority neighborhoods. Limited availability of suitable land and high property values can also make it hard for small grocery stores or farmers markets to establish themselves in underserved areas. As we've previously considered, a lack of reliable transportation is a significant barrier in both urban and rural areas. Many food desert residents lack access to reliable transportation, making it difficult to travel to supermarkets outside their immediate neighborhoods. This is exacerbated by inadequate investment in public transportation, which further limits access to healthy food. Finally, inadequate government policies and funding for food access initiatives can perpetuate food deserts. Programs aimed at improving food access may be underfunded or poorly implemented. Limited funding for programs that support healthy food access, like SNAP and WIC, can exacerbate the problem of food deserts. Indeed, without effective policy intervention and sufficient funding, it's challenging to address the root causes of food deserts comprehensively. Food deserts often exist alongside food swamps, which are areas characterized by an overabundance of unhealthy food options like fast food restaurants, convenience stores, and liquor stores. Food swamps can exist independently or inside food deserts. In some cases, a neighborhood may be both a food swamp and a food desert, where residents lack access to healthy options but are surrounded by unhealthy ones. Indeed, in food deserts, the presence of food swamps can worsen the existing problem of limited access to healthy food, as residents are forced to rely on unhealthy options due to the lack of alternatives, creating a double burden for communities by contributing to health burdens and increased rates of chronic diseases. Indeed, food deserts and their corollary food swamps have a variety of major consequences at both the individual and community level. At the individual level, limited access to affordable, healthy foods leads residents to rely on cheap, calorie-dense, nutrient-poor foods, contributing to poor dietary habits. This often leads to increased prevalence of obesity, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, and other diet-related chronic conditions. A lack of access to fruits, vegetables, and whole grains can result in deficiencies in essential vitamins, minerals, and fiber, impacting overall health and immune function. Sometimes this is reflected in stunted growth and development due to inadequate nutrition among children in food deserts. The stress and anxiety associated with food insecurity can also negatively impact mental health, as higher rates of depression and anxiety are often observed in communities with limited access to nutritious food. The combined impacts of poor nutrition, chronic diseases, and poor mental health can reduce overall life expectancy. Indeed, according to the USDA, individuals living in food deserts often experience a shorter lifespan compared to those in areas with better food access. Children living in food deserts may experience difficulty concentrating in school due to hunger or lack of proper nutrition, leading to lower academic achievement. This can have lifelong consequences for future opportunities. And the poor health outcomes associated with food deserts can limit educational attainment and employment opportunities, hindering economic mobility and perpetuating poverty. This can be compounded by increased healthcare costs due to diet-related diseases and can strain household budgets and exacerbate financial hardship. And at the community level, a lack of access to grocery stores and other amenities can weaken social ties and community cohesion, leading to lower levels of social interaction and support, and contributing to social isolation among affected communities. The absence of grocery stores and other food retailers can stifle economic development in food desert communities, as limited access to healthy food can discourage businesses from locating in these areas, fueling a cycle of decline and making it difficult for communities to attract new businesses and services. And food deserts can perpetuate the social stigma and marginalization of already disadvantaged communities, reinforcing feelings of isolation and disenfranchisement in the community. A wide variety of policy responses and interventions aimed at addressing food deserts, targeting various causes and impacts, have been proposed. Some states have started to provide financial incentives, like tax breaks, grants, and low-interest loans, to encourage grocery stores and supermarkets to open in underserved areas. These incentives reduce the financial risk for businesses, making it more feasible for them to operate in low-income neighborhoods, thus increasing access to fresh, affordable food. At the federal level, the Healthy Foods Financing Initiative provides grants and loans to support the development of grocery stores in food deserts. Addressing land use and zoning policies that make it difficult to develop grocery stores, farmers markets, and other similar food retailers can also help ensure that communities have a balanced mix of food retailers, improving access to healthy food and reducing the prevalence of unhealthy food options. Other programs support urban agriculture initiatives, community gardens, and food co-ops to provide residents with access to fresh produce, reduce food transportation costs, and promote local food production. These initiatives aim to increase the availability of fresh, healthy food in food deserts and to promote community engagement and education around nutrition and sustainable agriculture. Examples of such programs include Grow NYC in New York City, which supports the creation and maintenance of community gardens in urban farms, and Sprout NOLA, which supports urban agriculture in New Orleans. Some have also proposed the expansion of mobile markets and food trucks to bring fresh produce and healthy food options directly into neighborhoods lacking grocery stores. These mobile solutions provide flexible and immediate access to healthy food, especially in areas with limited transportation options. The Mobile Farmers Market program, which operates in various cities across the country, is an example of efforts to deliver fresh produce to food deserts, ensuring that residents have access to healthy food options. At the other end, enhancing public transportation options can make it easier for residents of food deserts to travel to grocery stores and supermarkets. Improved public transportation reduces the geographic barriers to accessing healthy food, making it more feasible for residents without personal vehicles to shop at stores that offer fresh produce and healthy options. Subsidies can be provided to lower the cost of healthy food options like fruits and vegetables in grocery stores and farmers markets, making healthy food more affordable, encouraging its consumption, and promoting improved dietary habits and better health outcomes. Both WIC and SNAP, for example, offer subsidies and incentives for purchasing healthy food. Finally, addressing the root causes of food deserts is also important. This includes a variety of strategies, including investing in economic development initiatives in food desert communities to create jobs, increase incomes, and attract businesses, supporting affordable housing development in areas with access to healthy food to prevent the displacement of residents, and more broadly, addressing systemic racism and other forms of discrimination that contribute to the concentration of poverty and food insecurity in certain communities. But that's it for now. As always, please leave any questions you have in the comments section below, and thanks for watching. Bye.